Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Ray,
I'm Marco.
and this is the Love the Game Pod. We're back for our 28th episode. That's kind of really crazy when I say it out loud. Um, but today we're going to be talking about basically the Eastern Conference isn't as weak as you think it is. That's going to be basically our whole episode today. But before we talk about that, All-Star Weekend just happened. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really know what was gonna happen. I'm glad that a lot of more players were competitive. Shout out to Victor Wembanyama, shout out to Anthony Edwards, shout out to, what I'm saying, Tyrese Maxey, Reese. We see you out there. We see you out there. And shout out VJ, you know what I'm saying? But Cole, what were some of the takeaways that you got from All-Star break?
Um, Aside from like the biggest takeaway being that like this All-Star game did work, I don't know if it was the USA versus World format or if it was just players like Victor Wembanyama and like some of the younger guys on specifically the rare USA team,
Mhm.
taking it more serious. I definitely think that they should run that format back. Um, I saw some takes saying like the thing they thought that made it successful was by doing each game is just like a 10-minute game. It was kind of like simulating like a fourth quarter, which led to like three really, really good games. And
Yeah.
then the last game ended in a blowout, which is tough because like the Navy Blue USA team was a bunch of like old heads playing. And then they
Yeah.
were asked to play like three straight games when then the younger USA team just had a game off and they came in and were able to win. I was happy because I was rooting for Maxie's team, so they ended up winning. But it was definitely a competitive one and in recent memory, probably the best All-Star game.
Mm.
Um,
You
but other
taking
than
over the
like
2020 All-Star game?
um Nah, I probably got to go with that one because I don't know. Even if that's just like nostalgia purposes, my fault. I tweaked. I thought that was the 2019 one. I was wondering why you said 2020. Nah, but nah, I think I got to take the 2021 over this one. But this one was good. Like in recent memory, like for a while, it was kind of
Mm.
like the All-Star game was kind of a thing where I would be sitting by myself and watching it, and people wouldn't be like watching it with me, and I would only be watching it because like nothing else would be on because it's
Yeah,
All-Star
yeah,
weekend. There's no other NBA games.
yeah.
But this year made me like I'm going to be looking forward to the one next year. I'll say that this year I was kind of like, yeah, let's get it out the way and let's get like started with the second half of the season.
Mm.
Um, but no, it was good. I also not just because of VJ, I really do like the Rising Stars game every year. I feel
Yeah,
like
me
those
too.
guys
Me
usually do
too.
compete. Like you got a bunch of younger guys who like some of them are rookies, some of them are G League players, so you don't see them all the time.
Mm.
So you can kind of tell they're like getting up for this, like trying to like make a name for themselves. So I always do find a lot of enjoyment in the Rising Stars game, and this year especially because VJ had such a great performance, and I thought it was really cool having the legends as the coaches. Like you had Vince
Yeah,
Carter,
yeah,
T
yeah.
Mac,
That was
and then
fire. That was
Melo
fire. I
as
felt
the
like
three
Vince Carter
coaches.
was my coach. I was like, chill,
Bro,
coach.
that was tough. And
Like,
then they
chill.
had Austin Rivers coach the G League team. I thought they did a really nice job with that. Like
Yeah,
having like players who were more recently retired, who like the younger generation was watching growing up.
yeah.
Especially the players playing in this game. I'm sure like they all looked up to these guys who were coaching them. I thought that was really cool too. I thought that was a
Yeah.
nice touch. They had it on there. Um,
In the word of the NBA, we're about to reach the final stretch of the season. There's about like 25, 27 games left for a lot of different teams. Um, so we wanted to really talk about how the Eastern Conference is doing because I think an ongoing stigma, and I think it's becoming unfair because the East has been evolving for so many years now. I think a lot of people still keep saying that the East is weak and it's like the weaker conference, right? But I think when you really look at what's going on within the NBA, especially this year, the East is probably I really underestimated the East going into this year because I thought it would just be like a cakewalk. But when we start talking about these teams, like you really start to realize like no, these teams are really built to compete. Not only for this year, but for like a lot of years to come. Like I think the Eastern Conference is only going to get more competitive as time progresses.
yeah, definitely. Me like specifically, this is even like I'm criticizing the media, but like I definitely underestimated the East as well. Like if you look
Yeah,
at the top five teams in the NBA right now, three of the top like in terms of net rating, three of the top five are in the East. You got the Pistons with the second best, the Celtics with the third best, and then the Knicks are tied with the Spurs for the
yeah,
fourth best.
yeah,
And then like even if you extend it out to the top 10, the East has five of the top 10 because you could add in the Cavaliers and the Miami Heat. So even if they don't have like a complete powerhouse like the Thunder are in the West, being like the team with far and away the highest net rating right now,
yeah,
being like a tier one contender, even if they don't have like that level of contender, Um, I definitely think that there's going to be a strong team coming out of the East this year that can definitely take a couple of games at least away from the team coming out of the West, and it won't just be like an easy sweep like the Nuggets had against the Heat like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of like to start with us talking about Eastern Conference teams with the number one seed so far in the East. And they're heavily favorited this year. The Detroit Pistons. Right now they're 14 and 13. They're on a 3-game win streak. Last 10 they're 8 and 2. I feel like that's just really impressive. Um, I mean, there's so much you could say about the Detroit Pistons. I wanted to start out by saying like again, as we said earlier, I vastly underestimated this team because of Malik Beasley's absence. Um, just to see Kate Cunningham be virtually like I'm not gonna like say he's the SGA of the Pistons, but taking on that role of being a one-man offensive load, I think is really impressive. Right now, he's averaging 25.3 points, 5.6 rebounds, and 9.6 assists. I also want to give a shout out to Jalen Duren. You know, I'm pretty sure he's from Philly, so
Hmm.
shout out Jalen Duren. 17.7 points, 10.4 rebounds. Right now, they are second in the league in defensive rating at 108.3. Um, and also they have a lot of bench players that have been stepping up. Dennis Jenkins, our guy Paul Reed, you know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Bebo Paul, man.
Yeah, and I also want to give a shout out to Javante Green, and like you said, they're one of the top 10 teams in offensive rating. So, yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the offensive and defensive rating, because that was something that was very interesting to me.
yeah,
We talk about how great the Oklahoma City Thunder defense is, and rightfully so. They have a 106.3 defensive rating,
yeah,
and the Pistons have a 108.3. So they're only 2 points per possession worse. 2 points per 100 possessions worse than the
yeah.
Thunder. And they're 2 points per 100 possessions better than the Spurs. I wonder how that would look when, like, if you filter out the games the Spurs missed with Victor Wembanyama.
Mm,
But still, they're like right up there with the best teams in the league in terms of defense. But they're a team that really lives off of their defense, creating turnovers and getting a lot of stops. And in a playoff setting, where half is much more half court oriented and stuff, and you need 3-point shooting. Um, I in multiple creators, I'm not sure that they have enough there to like
mm,
truly make a run to the finals. I'm not
mm.
predicting them to get first round or anything like that. I think they're too good of a team to predict that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they are a team that does get bounced in the second round or gets bounced
Mm.
in the conference finals. But they have been a really impressive team. I just their offense in the same sense that the Oklahoma City Thunder were a historic regular season team last year in terms of net rating.
Yeah,
But they got taken to 7 games twice last year in the playoffs because their
yeah.
shooting was a little bit dubious. I kind of feel the same way about the Pistons.
Okay, I get that. I get that. Like to your point, I understand, like I said, Malik Beasley, I feel like was a big let go for the Pistons. Obviously, you see it with the lack of 3-point shooting. That's why they brought in Kevin Herter. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I also just want to give like, I mean, not a shout out, but like, I feel like this Pistons team is so underrated in terms of their bench because there's been times where I thought that they wouldn't have the guys that could step up, and then a guy like Karis LeVert will come through and do something crazy. Or Paul Reed. Like he's been doing stuff that we've only seen him do against like Jokic on the Sixers. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Bro, I'm so happy you brought him up, bro. Like
yeah,
I honestly wish what would happen, like if a team just like unleashed him and he could play more. Because when he was the Sixers backup, like he's like not the best backup for Embiid because of like his style of play. He's not like a rim protector. He's more of like a
yeah,
defensive playmaker, getting a lot of steals and generating turnovers and stuff as a big. But
yeah.
he's like such an interesting player in the NBA. I really wish like his role was bigger on some of these teams because I think he's really good.
Bro, me too. Me too. Like, so that's why I have a hot take. I have a hot take. I feel like the Pistons will dethrone the Knicks this year as the best team in the East. I'm gonna put like a sound effect there. But I say that because even though the Indiana Pacers, they did come out of the East, there's no there's no team right now. And I feel like a lot, and it might be like media bias. A lot of people are talking about the Knicks are the big dogs of the East, arguably because they have the most experienced players and like top. 10 roster. I guess like you could say like they have a honestly, like, even as a Sixers fan, they have a solid roster. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that,
No,
bro.
they're a really good team.
Yeah. So like, this year, I honestly I think the Pistons could really shock some people, like genuinely, because they shocked me from being the first team in the East, and I feel like there's another gear that they can get to. My only weakness, I feel like they'll have like other than like what you said, can Cade do it himself? I think another weakness is like how far can Tobias Harris carry them? Because I've always been that type of person to be like, I told my friend who's a Detroit Pistons fan. Like y'all are only gonna go as far as Tobias Harris wants you to go because he's still a starter. He's still a huge part of their offense. But as a Sixers fan, we've seen what happened in the playoffs. We know that like there's been games where like Embiid could drop 30, but the problem is like he doesn't have another guy who's consistently dropping 20 with him. You know what I'm saying? Um,
But looking at it, I think it's important for them to keep the one seed, especially going into the playoffs, because I really think very highly of the Knicks and the Celtics. So if they could avoid playing one of those two teams until the conference finals, I think that'd be very important for them
mm,
because
mm,
I think that's the situation where I would view them as a possible second round exit would be like if they match up against the Celtics in round two or something like that.
mm, mm. Yeah, and speaking of the Celtics, we will go right into them. The Celtics right now, they're 35 and 19. They're on a one-game win streak, and their previous 10 games are 7 and 3. There's a lot of crazy questions that we can talk about with the Celtics. They have so many things going on. Jaylen Brown playing like an MVP candidate. Will Jason Tatum come back in time? You know, I also want to talk about just even though like again I don't want to say this, the shout out to them like just developing their players for so long because a lot of these guys have been within the Celtics system. They've just been on like the bench warming side. You know what I'm saying? Now they're finally getting time. Um, their offensive rating has been amazing and their defensive rating. It's been they've been a really good team without arguably their best player. And like you said, they're definitely a formidable foe within the East, bro. But I wanted to get your perspective on them.
Yeah, honestly, with or without Jason Tatum, I think that this is the team that I see coming out of the East. I'm very cautious to say that because in a playoff, like
Ooh.
in playoffs in the
Oh
past,
God.
um, Jason Tatum has been like far and away their most important player. Like
Yeah.
his on-off stats, they get pretty yucky in the playoffs in terms of like his net swings. So while in the regular season they've been like honestly like pretty completely fine without him. They have the second best net rating in the East and the third best net rating in the league. I think in a playoff setting that they're really going to need Jason Tatum.
I agree.
So I,
Yeah, I
I am
agree.
very I am very cautious saying I think that they'll come out of the East no matter what. It would make me a lot more confident if they had Jason Tatum because I know like the data baller thing of like Jason Tatum's on-off numbers in the last 3 years in the regular season is going around where he has like a zero net swing. But
Mm.
if you do the playoffs for those 3 years, it would be what it was 23
Yeah,
to
23 till
25.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, was the thing they were doing. If you do it for just the playoffs, he has a 9.8 net swing because they're zero with him off the floor and a plus 9.8 with him on the floor.
Mm.
So like well in like the regular season they've been like completely like fine regardless because like they're just such a great team. Like he is the type of player that they absolutely need come playoff time. Um so I'm not trying to downplay his impact at all because I feel like well data baller is a really good tool for analyzing lineup data and like measuring the impact of players who you might not necessarily see in points, rebounds, assists. I think like sometimes sample sizes could be funny because if you add one more year in it, if you add the year before, I think Jason Tatum had like a plus 14.1, like
Mm.
on off swing. So that would just absolutely like nuke their agenda. And I'm a Sixers fan. Like I wish
Yeah,
I could like stay here
yeah,
and be
yeah.
like, oh, I think Jason Tatum's a fraud, but he's absolutely not. And I think his playoff on offs proved that. And I think he's very vital to the team's like championship hopes. I can't see them winning a championship without him, but I could see
Mm.
them coming out of the East without him.
Mm.
I really like their defense is still very good, even if it's not like top of the league. They have the ninth best defense in the league. But they have the second best offense, and a lot of that is just because of how many 3 pointers they get up. And like philosophy wise, I very much agree with Joe Mazzulla there.
Yeah.
And I think that that is something you absolutely need in the playoff setting, kind of like the opposite of what I said about the Pistons. So I think like
So I mean, yeah, like we'll see what's going on with the Celtics. On the other hand, in third place, we got the New York Knicks. Right now they're 35 and 20 on for the last 10, they've won 8 and they've lost 2 and they're on a one game win streak. This team has struggled with finding their own identity this year. But obviously they've been slowly but surely finding who they want to be. They recently picked up Jose Alvarado and Jeremy Sochan. I feel like those were really great pickups. They're 10th in defensive rating at 112.8. And uh, yeah, like I've just been really impressed by the Knicks, even though I'm a Sixers fan, because they've been able to at least maintain a winning culture while also dealing with, like a new coach, a new system, new identity, questions about who's going to be on the team and who's not. So I just feel like they've done a fairly solid job at just kind of like canceling the noise out as like, one of the biggest teams in the NBA.
Yeah, I definitely think that in my eyes, they're probably my second favorite to come out of the East. I think like based on playoff matchup, if they have to play the Knicks, I think I
Hmm.
would probably slightly favor the Pistons coming out of the East just because like they would have a harder schedule.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, they've been very impressive this year. I think a lot of what you hear about the criticism of the Knicks is their defense, which is pretty funny to me because as you said, they are like around my
They're
data
10th
says
in
the
defensive rating. Yeah.
11th best defensive rating, but yeah,
Uh,
they're
yeah.
they're like very close to being within the top 10 for defensive rating.
Mm,
Which is like a very fine range for them to be in. Like it's not like they're a bad or like even mid defense. Like they have
yeah.
a pretty good defense, and they have the third best offensive rating in the league. Um, and the thing with the Knicks this year, as opposed to last year, I definitely feel like they're deeper. You did touch on that a lot, with the Jeremy Sohan pickup and the as well as the Jose Alvarado pickup. Um, but yeah, I feel like I'm looking at this team as opposed to in past years. I'm like, well, this team is deeper. They still have the problem of Cat being a poor defender.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't even think he's a mid defender. I think he's a slightly detrimental defender. As well as like Brunson
yeah.
being a poor defender as well.
That's my
The
that's
thing
my
with
question for them. Like,
the thing with
would
the
would
Knicks
that
is
cancel
like
everything out?
Mitchell Robinson is like such a good like complement to Cat in a way because if you really want to go defense, Mitchell Robinson is one of the best defensive players in the league, one of the best rebounders in the league. He does not
Yeah.
provide the floor spacing or any of like the offensive like creation that Cat provides. Like Cat is a
Mhm.
very, very valuable player. That is not the case of making at all.
Mm,
But the combination of Cat and Brunson, we did see that come back to bite the Knicks last year. But we say came back to bite them, and it came back to bite them in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's not like they got first rounded.
yeah.
So while that might cap their ceiling, I think they'll still be completely fine through round one. And then depending on who their matchup is, I think if they have the Celtics or the Pistons, it's going to be tough. But could if it's any of the other teams in the East, like I think they'll be fine in
I
round
mean,
two.
well, because all right, because we're gonna get into the Cavs eventually too, but I
Mhm.
think if we're like, bro, every team with, I'd argue that like I think all the top four teams in the East, regardless, like let's say like in a playoff setting they all win, regardless, New York is gonna play a team with like really good guards that can score. So like
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost like inevitable. It's more of like again, like can the offensive power of the Knicks out cancel or cancel out the deficiencies of their stars defensively? Because it's like like you said, they can't consistently rely on those two players specifically to stop a Jaylen Brown or to stop a James Harden or a Donovan Mitchell or a Cade Cunningham, throughout a 7 game playoff series. But I mean, that's just how I see it, though.
No, I feel you. I just want to see more from the Cavs. I am discounting them a little bit because we haven't seen a lot of Harden, Donovan Mitchell, and the bigs yet.
Yeah.
Um, from how it started, it's looked really good. Like whenever Harden goes to a new team, like they call it the Harden honeymoon phase. Like he is amazing. Like as soon as he gets to a new team, and I'm somebody like I believe Harden could thrive in this like scaled down role in a playoff setting. I think he could be really good next to Donovan Mitchell.
I agree.
I think they can make a run. I think they can make the finals, but I just need to see more of it because they have not played very many games together.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody that like values having like a large like data set to look at. And right now we just simply don't have that. But yeah, I definitely like I definitely think that's a very good opinion. I do think I'm overlooking them in a sense because I am like um skeptical of their small sample size.
Yeah, nah, and even to piggyback off you, I'm gonna just say the Cavs record. They're fourth in the East right now. They're 34 and 21 on a 5 game win streak. They're 9 and 10 or 9 and 1 during their last 10 games. So I mean, I feel like that's like a really important point as well. Like they've already been playing well without Darius Garland. Like even like because I remember I made the when we did our teams that we wanted to challenge. It felt like right after I challenged Cleveland to do better, they started making me shut up. Um, and like you see like even with Harden, like I think we haven't even scratched the surface of like what the full potential of the Cavs could be this year. Because I like Evan Mobley and Jared Allen with James Harden, I feel like is a crazy like pick your poison type of combination. And I think that's gonna suit them very, very well as the playoffs commence. Because I think finally now Donovan Mitchell can just be Donovan Mitchell, and James Harden, obviously like we understand James Harden will give you a 40-point game, but he can also give you a 15-point game. Even though he might give you a 15-point game, he can give you like 10 assists. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like he's just gonna quit like and not do anything. Um so I mean I feel like that's like the biggest X factor I feel like for Cleveland going into this playoffs because Donovan Mitchell's gonna give you everything you need. But will James Harden's like playmaking abilities like kind of outweigh his scoring deficiencies at times in the playoffs? And right after the Cleveland Cavaliers, we got probably the most head-turning team, the Toronto Raptors. Right now they're 32 and 23. They're on a 1 game losing streak and they're 6 and 4 within their last 10 games. I know I had the Raptors not even in the playoffs or play in, excuse me. So just the fact that they're proving me wrong, like it's just really crazy. Um, they're a long team. Brandon Ingram's having an all-star resurgence, 21.8 points per game, 5.7 rebounds. He's shooting 47.4% from the field. And also like, key role players like Emmanuel Quickly, CMB, Mamushev, and then also Jamal Sheed. So, or Jamal Shed, my fault. So, yeah, like Cole, what was your reaction to this? The Raptors kind of having a resurgent season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was like pretty surprised by that as well. I honestly forget where I had him. I think probably the play-in, if not outside the play-in. I don't think I had them making the playoffs straight up.
Yeah,
In a playoff setting, I'm still not sure I trust them. They have a very deep team. But like the lack of like true like superstar at the top. I do think very highly of Scotty Barnes, but he's not a primary creator. Brandon Ingram, not a primary creator. It's kind of been like an offense by committee. And Darko Rajakovic is a great coach who has like allowed them to like have a system where that has worked with like so much talent. Um, but I don't know if I view them as a true contender in the East. I don't think that they can come out of the East. Like maybe they can make a run and surprise me, make the conference finals. It wouldn't be the first time they surprised me this season.
yeah,
But their overall shooting volume and efficiency has been pretty poor, and that's something that I've like emphasized like as something that's important to me in this
yeah,
podcast. So they don't do that very well. They're like toward the bottom of the league, bottom five in volume for three pointers, and their net rating is only a 1.5. So I'm a little bit skeptical of them come playoff time. They've had a very impressive regular season, and I was like very wrong about them coming into the year. But I
yeah.
don't know if I view them in the same like category as the top four teams.
I think the Raptors for me is like one of those teams where it's going to be like the matchup because I think if they have a team that is going to be susceptible to a long defensive team or not defensive team, but like just a long team that wants to play hard like the Raptors, I think it's gonna give them some problems because like though you're right, they can't shoot as well as you'd want to for a playoff team. Defense wins championships at the end of the day. At least that's like something that I try to live by. So it's like I want to say like yeah, like offense is definitely a vital part, but I think defense can generate offense in a sense. So it's like I don't know. Like that's kind of like my viewpoint. I feel like the Raptors are kind of like similar with the Cavs, like one of the more underrated teams because you don't necessarily know what their full potential is. Like last team, last team, our very own Philadelphia 76ers. Um, right now we're coming off a two-game losing streak. We're 30 and 24, and we are 6 and 4 within these last 10 games. Um, definitely I feel like again the Sixers are a big question mark coming into this stretch of the season. You know, there's a point where they're like the third best team in the East, and now, I mean, they're sixth. But like they can still go back to it's a weird time to be a Sixers fan. You know, we knew it was gonna be a confusing season, but I guess we didn't know it would be like this kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what to make of us. Like, we're actually in a better spot than I thought we would be, like
Yeah,
coming
me
into the
too.
year. Because
I think the same.
well, I think I said like in one of our first podcasts of the season, like if Embiid plays half the games, I feel like that's like a win. I think he's already played 31 games, so like I I think it's very reasonable to expect that he plays like well over 42
Yeah,
games. I know
yeah,
he missed a couple going into All-Star break because they said his knee soreness was back after like going on a pretty ridiculous stretch of playing games, like by his
true.
standards.
That's true. He did
Um,
play for a long time than we
I
expected.
think it was like 16 of 19 games. Like he was like really
Yeah,
playing games
yeah,
like for a while, and it was like really great to see. I was so happy for him. So hopefully like this is like the rest he needed, and he comes back and could go on another stretch like that, and then maybe even like play like 50 games or something like that, and just make my prediction look and make like my statement earlier look stupid, and just like, oh, he was like pretty available this year.
yeah.
But yeah, I really don't know like what to make of us, man. Like to be honest, because we have a point 0.3 net rating, but then you like looking at all the games Embiid's missed and like Paul George has missed, and like Maxi, Paul George, and Embiid have only played 346 like standard leverage minutes together, and they're 6.7 net rating in those minutes. But but like that hasn't even normalized because you need like 500 minutes for it to actually normalize,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that
yeah.
like we're below that, so they haven't even played minutes. I don't think I could like buy our health come playoff time. Like sad to say,
I get that. I get
and
that. I
like
get
hard
that.
said, but like campaign, like I don't know. That's a better player than I thought we were gonna get in like the buyout type market. I know he's playing overseas, so he's not technically a buyout.
Yeah.
But he can shoot the ball and he takes a lot of threes. He got like a over 53 point rate every single year. And I don't know, Maxi's jump shot has been like falling off recently. He's been playing so many minutes that like it was bound to happen at some point.
Yeah.
But at least he
Yeah.
has a backup point guard now that can just like we could just put him in there and like trade some order like each game and not have to play Maxi 40 minutes every single game to stay in the game.
Like you said, we got somebody who fits our system and knows our system. Um, and we could see hopefully, play well for us come playoff time. Um, you know, yeah, it's gonna be a grind because we don't have Paul George still. I think we have what, like maybe like 15 more games without Paul George.
Yeah, I forget the exact number, but I know we have 10 from the time he comes back until the playoffs to like get back right. He's
Okay.
got 10 games, so
Okay.
that's not nothing. Like that's something where
Yeah,
he could
yeah,
like find a
yeah,
little bit
yeah,
of rhythm.
yeah. Yeah. So I mean, okay, yeah. So yeah, we got 10 more games until Paul George comes back. You know, it's gonna be a grind, but I think one thing I will say is like we have like the scrappy guys that know how to play, you know? I feel like the difference in between us and like, like a Detroit is like the guys that they got are scrappy and they got that dog in them. You feel me? We don't necessarily got that dog yet, but we got that puppy though. We got that puppy. You feel me?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see. We definitely have like the talent and like the role players. I the health has like been what breaks us every year, and it's hard for me to imagine that that isn't the case again this year. I do think like having a playoff experience will be important for like somebody like VJ, who
Yeah.
like hopefully plays in a lot of playoff series for us in
Yeah.
the future. And for some reason, I don't know. I like every time there's like a big moment or a big game this year, felt like he stepped up. So I'm actually really excited to see him specifically in the playoff series because
Yeah.
I feel like he'll
Yeah.
have some like really nice games for us where he like really steps up and shows something.
Yeah. Like to your point, like I feel like this year, like a lot of people were saying like, oh, this year the year the Sixers gonna win a championship. We can't be thinking like that because it's the first year of like a new era, technically. Like if we being so for real, like we just gotta see how this playoffs are. We just gotta see how these playoffs go, and we'll have a good idea of like what this team looks like for the future. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, this is the last part of the episode. Cole, I know you usually got a question at the end of the pod, man. What you got? What you got for the people?
Yeah, I cooked up a couple with some good for like the next
Woo!
couple weeks. But I'm gonna start with this one. We so who's a player that is currently on a team that is like bad that you would like to see on a team that's good that you think could like make an impact on a contender? Or like turn a good team into a contender.
Mm.
I could give you my guy if you want a second to think about it.
Yeah, yeah. Give your guy first. I'm gonna look up some teams.
So I actually cooked this question up while I was watching the game, Kings versus Pelicans on February 9th.
the,
So I was
the
watching it.
infamous battle.
And like
Infamous
I'm
battle.
I'm a I'm a I'm a pretty big fan of a lot of players on the Pelicans, one of them being Herb Jones. And I think if you look at Herb Jones' analytics, like they paint him as like one of the like really really great like Derek White type like role players who like make a star level impact in the league.
Yeah,
And you saw like Derek White going from the Spurs to the Celtics. Like he was never a bad player on the Spurs. He was a super impactful player there, but it just wasn't highlighted because the team around him wasn't like as good. Then he
yeah,
goes to the Celtics and he's making a star level impact on the team. I think Herb Jones, if he got traded to like a similar like level, really good team, could make a similar level impact where you're looking at this guy's like, wow, this guy's making a star level impact on this team. I just think there's a lot there. Like everybody knows he's a great defensive player. The spot of 3-point shooting is shaky, but he makes enough of them for me to like think he plays in the playoff setting. And he handles the ball for them like more than you would think. And he
yeah,
does turn the ball over more than you would like, but I think on a better team it would be scaled down because they would have like actual point guards. And not like Jeremiah Fears coming off the bench or like playing like spotty minutes with no Jose Alvarado anymore. So Herb Jones has to be like the backup point guard. Yeah.
yeah,
So he was my guy. He was the reason I actually made this question.
yeah. So that's a good one. Also, shout out to our guy Chris. You know what I'm saying? Big Pelicans fan.
Shout out to Chris, man.
Um, I feel like my answer is going to be Nick Claxton for the Brooklyn Nets.
That's a really good one. I like that.
Cause like I remember when he used to play for the Nets when they had like Kevin Durant, Kyrie. He was a very effective defensive player. It just felt like because that era is now over, the Nets are in full rebuild mode, and he's kind of just there as kind of like the remainder of that whole era. So I feel like if he was on a new team, I think he'd be very impactful, especially a winning team, because I think he might be one of those players that I've seen that is very motivated by winning. Because like you saw, like even like when we would play against him, like he would have like kind of like his own Instagram stories against like Joel Embiid, like I'm coming, da 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 da. So like I feel like he's very motivated by being great. So if you could put him in an environment, like like a OKC, like a like a Detroit, like obviously they're the best of the best, but like if you put him in a winning
Hmm.
environment, he's gonna adapt, excuse me. So that's why I choose Nick Claxton.
Yeah, I think another guy I want to give a shout out to today is this is the last one. I could go on and on all day. But the
You
last
got
one I want to say is Jalen Suggs.
Oh yeah. Well,
I expected Orlando to be better, and a lot of that because of Jalen Suggs. And Jalen
yeah.
Suggs has like had a lot of injury problems over his career, but I think that he's a spectacular player, and I wish he was on like a true contender because I think he would make a really good team into like a really really amazing team. So
Yeah.
him too.
No, I get that. Shout out to Jalen Suggs. Before we dip, just wanted to say shout out to everybody that's been showing support to us. Um, and I say this every episode. I don't want to sound like a repeating record, but all the comments, all the likes, you know, everybody like trying to get our opinions and stuff, like it's seen, it's valid, it's validated, it's validating for me. I know it's validating for Cole as well. Um, so yeah, like we're just really grateful. We're gonna try to continue to just keep going crazy, you know. We're about to start the big grind when it comes to the playoffs too. And on top of that, like it'll be almost like a year since we started, so that'd be really crazy. Like, yeah. I don't know if you got anything else you want to say, Cole.
Yeah, I mean, it like I definitely like as you said, like see the growth, like especially recently. It feels like all of our TikToks are getting like a good amount of views now that like we would have been only for our like top videos a couple months ago. And like I
Yeah,
feel like every
yeah,
time we drop a YouTube video now, I'm getting an alert like that night that we picked up a subscriber. So
yeah,
for like the past 5 videos. So that's definitely nice. It always like puts a smile on my face, like seeing somebody interact with that or like getting that notification. So yeah, definitely. appreciate everybody that's been interacting, like especially all the new people that we don't even know who've been interacting recently, because
For
like
real though.
that's pretty cool too. It's not even just like my friends like talking to me about it anymore. It'll be like a random person commenting on the video, like, "Oh, I really agree with this," or "You guys are stupid. You don't know what you're talking about." But like, I appreciate it all. Like,
Yeah, man. Yeah, just to piggyback off of Cole, y'all just keep liking, keep subscribing, hype the video up if y'all have that. Also, answer the question that Cole asked if you got a NBA player that you think could be on like a great NBA team that's not doing so well right now. So yeah, man, we just appreciate y'all. Gonna go harder, man. Let a game pod episode 28, man. More guests are coming. More different type episodes, all that, man. We're gonna go crazy, man. Let's do it. Yes, sir. Here we go.